welcome. Welcome to Get Known, Be Seen Web TV. I'm Trish Springsteen, your host for the Get Known, Be Seen Web TV, and we are bringing to you our special for this month, which is the highlights of the Get Known, Be Seen Expo that was held in 2018. And along with that, I'll introduce you my co-host, Deborah Fay, for the particular highlights. Hi, Deborah. And we're going to be bringing to you interviews with a series of authors that were involved in that expo workshop last year. And right now, our author for today is Melly. Welcome, Melly.
Hi, thank you, ladies. This is a pleasure. I'm excited about this.
Me too. Oh, I love your work, Melly. Love your work, Dal.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You know I love yours too.
Oh, good. That's the appropriate thing to say right now.
It is.
I'm getting off track. We haven't even started and I'm getting off track. Yes. We're in big trouble. Okay.
No, I absolutely love what you're doing. And I love your work too, and I love Deb's work too. And I think we just need to get in and ask Melly so she can share some background to the awesome work that we love with her, so that there's an opportunity to share that. So first thing I'd like to ask you was, what was your journey like to becoming published? How did that feel for you? How did it work?
It was really interesting. It's been something that I've wanted to be an author since I was a little girl. And I even made a pact with my primary school librarian that when I'd be an author, I would be able to take my book in and put my book on the front counter. Unfortunately, she's passed away, and I don't think Get Known, Be Seen is going to apply to a primary school audience. But I've decided that will happen one day. I'm still going to take a book into that library and put it on the counter. But yeah, it's been part of my journey since I was a kid. And it wasn't until Deb contacted me and went, I've got an opportunity for you, that it all kind of fell into place. And it was like, now's the time to become an author. And for me, it was actually quite surprising how easily it flowed out of me. I think I put the blocks up to stop myself and always had the not good enough fears, the imposter syndromes, all those things coming up. But when I actually started writing, it just came out of me. It was awesome. And then to the publishing stage, I just handed over to you guys and it was done. Thank you.
Yes.
I think that's something that happens to a lot of people that prevents them from starting on their book journey. And even sometimes when they start on that book journey, some of the people who failed to finish that journey are those blocks that you're talking about, the ones that say, I'm not good enough, it's too hard, no one's going to read my book, why should I have it, I don't have a story. And those are some very common ones. So awesome that that's managed to move you through those blockages.
Well, I kind of have to. I teach other people to get over those blockages when they're standing in front of a camera. So I kind of had to apply the same techniques when it came to actually putting it to pen to paper this time. So
absolutely, I know, because it's the same sort of thing when I'm working with my people about getting up and speaking and doing that. It's similar blockages, but it's awesome that that opportunity has given you a chance to get through that publishing journey and work through those blockages. I think that's brilliant.
I'm excited for you because I wanted to be a published author from, when I was quite young as well. But I was in my late 40s when I first had the courage and actually had to be, in order to help someone else to get me there. Couldn't do it, with my own focus, but you're just that much younger. So this publishing journey has started earlier for you, and I'm really excited about what's going to come for you.
Well, thank you. Because of both of you, I've got so many more books in the works.
Yes.
And little stories that keep coming through that I write down. I'm like, oh, there's a book if I pull that apart, and there's another book, and there's another book. And then
it's addictive, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And then I hear other people's stories and I'm like, oh, your story and your story need to go in a book together, because the overall theme of that is so inspiring. And, yeah, I think you two have just started something within me, and now I want books everywhere. I want my collection out into the world.
There are not enough books, is my opinion. We can all talk about the same topic, but we all have a different way of talking about it, and we have a different perception of it and a different way of expressing what we see, which reaches different people in different ways.
Yep. And I was at the library the other day and I noticed that, like, I was looking around at all these books, and the concept of how many stories you're surrounded with and how much courage it took to actually get those words onto paper, it put me into this really humble place, because there are so many books, so many stories out there, yet every single one of those books was different. Every single one of those stories was different. And that to me is, there is no duplication. There's no such thing as imposter syndrome when it comes to writing your story, because it's yours. No one else can take it.
So that's how that's how you overcome the imposter syndrome. What other challenges, Melly, have you had to push through to get to here? So you mentioned a couple of things. What else was significant for you?
For me, because I'm very much business focused, it was figuring out how the book fits into my business strategy as well. So yes, I've got all these stories I want to tell, but are they going to help with my business, or do I have to allocate hobby time for this? So it was trying to figure out how the book would fit in with promoting my business as well. Because yes, some of us have stories from the heart that need to be shared. Sometimes it is a marketing tool, and I think it's trying to figure out where that fits into your life and which one needs to be told at what time. So that was the big thing to overcome, and kind of your kick up the butt helped me make the decision that this is the right time right now.
My inspired phone call.
Yeah.
So Trish, I don't know if you're aware, I saw Melly doing a video one day, and she had the word, I think it was inspired, on a plaque behind her, and it just, something about it spoke to me. So I just rang her and I just said, I think we need to work together. And then of course you had the idea to bring her into the Get to Know and Be Seen workshop as a significant third person, in the presentation. It was a great idea.
Happen now and then, flashes of and I've
You certainly do.
I never wanted to write. I always thought I couldn't write up until about 4 years ago. And since then I've become rather prolific at writing. So it's amazing what happens when you can get rid of the blocks that are in your mind. It's like a dam breaking sometimes, and the flow just comes. And then it keeps coming, which is really awesome. So
it's exciting.
How have you leveraged your book? What's it done for you?
So I have done a couple of giveaways with the book as well. I've put little notes in the front saying, here, this is my article in the book. It's helped bring in some more business. I've got it on my website, so it's helped raise my profile. I have it on my email signatures, on my Facebook, pretty much anywhere that my public face is put with my business, I've got the book as well. So it has become a physical business card, if you will, to hand out to people, which I think is amazing. And I've noticed that people, when you're talking to a prospective client and you say, here's a book, or here's my book, their perspective of perception, I should say, of who you are and how far you've gone in business has changed. It's like this instant shift. It's an amazing little mind trick, really, that you can play with clients, which I know sounds horrible, but
you're really playing it with yourself, if you think about it, aren't you? It's just that you see yourself differently, so then you connect with people from a different space, don't you?
Well, you do, because you do have, and I think especially being a service-based business, you don't always have something physical to hand to a client. So then to be able to say, here's something physical, it changes that energetic relationship with your clients as well. It's been huge. I've leveraged it in so many different ways. And if anything, I've leveraged this to write more, which I think is the biggest part of it.
Yay.
I love what you said about it becoming almost a business card, because that's one of the things that I'm passionate about, encouraging people to write their books, because A, I think it's a legacy, but B, it does become a business card. And business cards today, which while they're still important, it's very easy to throw them away and put them in the bin. But you give someone a book and they'll never throw a book away. They might pass it on, they'll read it, but it'll get passed on and on. So it becomes a legacy and becomes a business card that they don't throw away. So I think that's awesome that you've covered that area in there. I was going to ask how publishing has worked for you, but I think you've actually covered that probably a lot. Where do you think you're going to be going with your publishing? You're really excited with your books. What's your plan in that area?
So being a story collector, one of the things I do really well is collect other people's stories. I have this uncanny ability, and have done since I was a kid, to sit down next to a stranger and have their whole life story within 20, 30 minutes. So I'm really using that along with my video skills to get and collect people's stories. But it got to a point where social media and visual storytelling is going to be forgotten at some point in time. It's not a legacy. Media changes, the world changes. We all know how many social media platforms have come and gone, whereas books stay forever. Like, I'm reading a book at the moment of poetry from E.C. Cummings, who was like 17th century, and I've still got a record of what he produced. I'm like, to me, those books are a vital step in recording that legacy. So then you've got those stories to pass on.
Absolutely.
I just want to drop in there. I actually read one of those poems at my best friend's daughter's wedding recently. I Carry You in My Heart. It's the most beautiful. Yes, yep. So that's wonderful stuff. And you're so right, that stuff. What would happen if that was not in a book and we weren't able to access that?
Well, that was kind of what came over me when I was at the library the other day. I'm surrounded by thousands and thousands of stories, but then thinking of how many stories have been lost, how many people didn't have the ability to write it, or there wasn't video cameras or that sort of medium at the time to actually record their story. And I'm diving into my own family history and realise I've lost stories from my great-grandmother because no one recorded them. And it's scary to think that was only 3 generations ago and those stories are already lost.
Yeah.
And I do feel every story we tell is important. It needs to be recorded, and that we never know how far or how much of an impact that story will have on someone in the future. But unless it's told, that impact will never be made.
You're lost forever.
I was at a reading just recently where I was sharing one of my recent books, and there was a beautiful guy there, he's in his 70s, reading bush poetry. Now, he's recorded some of it on his CD, but what he was reading from was just pieces of paper that he had come out of the word of the computer. And I just said to him, you need to put those in a book. You need to have them in a book and published. And he's saying, oh, no one's going to, no one reads it. It needs to be there for a legacy for your poetry, because if you go, who's going to find it? And the CDs are not going to be as robust as a book would be. So hopefully he listened. Okay. Hopefully.
Well, actually, CDs are on the way out.
Oh, they are.
Yep. Yeah. They're already obsolete, which is scary, because a lot of, like, that happened in my lifetime. So if that's obsolete
came and went in your lifetime, yes.
Came and went in my lifetime. So imagine what's going to happen in the next generation. Everything's going to be in the cloud, which means if something happens, where's it gone? You've lost it. And I think the importance of that physical is coming back more than ever now.
Beautiful. Melly, I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts about the actual workshop that we did and doing the collaborative book, the collaborative project. How did you experience that? What benefits did you get from that?
I loved the workshop. I thought it was amazing just being in a room full of authors and aspiring authors. It's so hard to find people like that today, because everyone talks about
heaven, isn't it?
It is. Because we're deep thinkers. Anybody who wants to write a book is usually a deep thinker. And for me, we're a dying breed.
Is that seeker you talk about, wanting answers, you know, looking to grow? Mm.
And then because there was such a great age demographic as well, like I've met so many women that I probably would not have connected with because they're kind of outside of my usual age demographic. Yet those women have become amazing supporters. I absolutely adore their stories, and they've taught me so much through their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was one of the really big things about the workshop, was bringing such a good age demographic together.
Yeah.
Because then it is that sharing of wisdom from generation to generation as well.
Mm.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Thanks for sharing it. It's wonderful to see what you and hear what you have got out of that workshop. And it's amazing sometimes when you put together something, you're not even sure how it's going to go. And then when you sit back and you watch it flow and that, and then there are all those different things that happen that you hadn't actually even thought could have come out of it. And that's what we're finding when we're interviewing our authors from that workshop. There are all sorts of things that people have got out of it that Em and I didn't even think would be a possibility or would impact on people. And we're now seeing those hidden things. So that's awesome. What 2 tips would you give to someone who wants to write a book, who wants to be an author?
Get out of your own way is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Just start with something. I find we kind of have this perception that it flows from beginning to end, all nice and smooth. It doesn't. If you're lucky to be like that, then you're amazing. But just start putting something down, even if it's 2 or 3 sentences. If you stop there, fine, walk away, come back, just start. And the second tip is get someone like you guys to do the publishing part and take that headache away.
I like that bit. That's
you like
awesome.
that one? Yeah, just focus on the writing and the story and let someone else handle all the other technical stuff.
Awesome.
So, Melly, do you want to just hold your book up for the viewers to see? And we can see there it's Get Known, Be Seen with Melly S. Where can people get a copy of that?
So they can either get it from my publisher's website, which is Deb.
At mjlpublications.com.au.
Exactly. Or there is a link on my website, mellys.com.au, which will take you back to Deb anyway to purchase it.
Okay.
But there's lots of other exciting things to see at mellys.com.au as well.
Yes, I've got lots and lots of cool stuff coming up, and I'm re-releasing my web TV show where I'm interviewing people and collecting their stories.
Awesome.
So as you would read it is how I will collect it from them. So that way it is a true heartfelt retelling of their story, which is really exciting. I can't wait to see what sort of inspiration comes out of collecting all these beautiful women's stories.
Oh, there are so many stories out there, Melly. There's so many stories that everybody has in so many different ways. And what really saddens me is there are so many stories that are never going to see the light because of people's mindsets, limiting beliefs, or opportunities that they don't see. And that's why it's important for people like Deb, for people like me, for people like you, and on all our other fellow authors to shout out to the world that you can do it. You don't have
Especially now with the platforms that we have to be able to do it. You know, we don't have to wait. And I think I said this with one of the other authors. We do not have to wait for someone to give us permission to be published. We can do it ourselves, give ourselves permission to speak up.
And really, that we are so fortunate to be in that position to be able to do it.
It's exciting.
Even generations ago, self-publishing a book would have been unheard of. Whereas now, you can just do it. It's done.
Yes, that's right.
I think the other awesome part is that you don't have to publish it with the intention, as I briefly mentioned before, of making money and huge money out of it. That's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing for me is the legacy that you leave behind, as you're saying, the stories that you can share with people, and the opportunity you give to others to connect with you. That's the biggest thing.
For me, it's community as well. The more stories we share, the more people who resonate with that story start sharing their own. And I look at the Me Too movement as a huge example of how powerful a story can be. Yeah. It only took one person to stand up and share their story to inspire the next person to have the courage to do the same. And look at the worldwide movement that was created as a result of that one story. So for me, telling our stories is about community and change as well. It's a lot bigger than what we seem to feel it is, because we go, that's my story, but it has the capacity to change the world, and we've got to get out of our own way and let that happen.
Absolutely. And on that note, we need to get out of our own way and finish this interview. Thank you so much, Melly, for being with us today, and just share your website with us again where people can get in touch with you to share their stories with you.
Yep, mellys.com.au.
Awesome, people. Viewers, go there and get in touch with Melly and see how your story can be getting out into that community. Thank you for being with us today, and we'll be back soon with another episode of highlights of the Get Known Be Seen Expo from 2018, where we'll be showcasing another one of our authors. So it's bye from me.
Bye from me too. See you, Melly. See you, Trish.
Bye.